Hey, it's Whitney. Welcome to Web3 with Whitney. If this is your very first time watching or listening, this is a show that started off as a daily show and has now evolved into a weekly show. It may go back to daily or a few times a week. It's got a very fluid schedule right now. I go live on pretty much all the major social media platforms that I'm on and then create a audio only podcast version of this. If you are watching the video and you're curious about the podcast, or you want some more resources about what this is, and even want to earn yourself some extra perks, you can get all of that at whitneylauritsen.com/web3. And if you're listening to the podcast version, that webpage has the video version. So I want to try to make it easy for everyone, since Web3 can feel really confusing and overwhelming. That was the big motivation for me to start this show almost 2 months ago when I began it. And if you don't know what Web3 is, I'm broadcasting to a few new platforms today, mainly my Wellevator Facebook page and the Eco Vegan Gal Facebook page, which are two of the brands that I've been working on for a bit. And I decided to broadcast on those pages for the first time because today I'm going to be talking about natural products and CPG, consumer packaged goods, and how they can benefit from using elements of Web3 as soon as possible. And I'm going to dig into some of my research. And one of the big reasons I'm recording right now on March 8th is that tomorrow, March 9th, I'm going to the Natural Products Expo, which is one of my favorite events in the food space that I've been in for a long time. And it's not just food, it's beverages, it's wellness products of all different types. I've lost track of how many times I've been to the show. In the past, I calculated it, and I'm going to guess I've been about 15 times over the past 12 years. I think I started going in 2010. And it's a little uncomfortable for me right now, to be honest, because I've become really aware of my social anxiety. I don't know if it's always been there and I've just coped with it really well, or if it became really heightened, worsened, or just more apparent during the pandemic. And this event has been postponed since 2020. The last time they did this specific event in California was in 2019. So it also feels like this big deal to be going. And at this trade show, which is an industry-only professional event where thousands of people gather to connect, network, learn from each other, but also spread the word and get out products. A lot of brands go to this event to sample their products to retailers, to get press from traditional media and content creators, influencers, to really just develop their brands. And every time that I go, I try to think, how can I add value to that space? I tend to go to this event because I love the energy of it, even though I get anxiety from big crowds. There's still something really exciting about it. I feel an adrenaline rush, even in my body, talking about it in this moment. And a lot of people ask me what the benefits of attending are, and I'm going to set the stage for this event and also the natural products industry. I think because natural products for such a long time felt very niche, felt not mainstream. There's a big sense of community there. But as natural products became more mainstream, became more accepted, became more accessible as well, and not just like in a natural food store, but in any grocer now around the world. And sorry for the fuzzy camera. I've been meaning to set up some different lighting for my night shoots here, and I have to change some settings. If you're listening, you will not even notice this, but if you're watching, from time to time, the focus goes in and out. Anyways, there's a lot of financial opportunity now in these spaces, and going to trade shows like the Natural Products Expo are really fascinating from a trend standpoint about what's going on in these industries. I mainly attend, though, because I'm fascinated by new developments in this space. A lot of my work over the years has centered around helping people understand what to eat and make decisions around that. I've advocated a lot for the plant-based diet, for organic eating, and various elements of health and wellness. Now my focus is more on the mental health and well-being side of things, but food plays a big role in that, supplements, beverages, and certainly anything that we're putting on or in our bodies, which could be found at this trade show. When I go to this show, I'm not just looking in terms of trying to understand the industry, I'm also seeing how I can support the attendees, whether that's the brands there or other people that are walking around the show for their own reasons. A lot of times that's investors, that could be retailers, that could be, I mean, gosh, I should have pulled up a list because there's all different types of people that go to these shows. And this year in 2022, obviously, one of the big passions of mine and focuses is on Web3. And I'm preparing for the fact that that's possibly going to be an emerging trend, but something that we're just starting to explore, as many industries are. So my focus today in this episode is not just on the natural products industry, but I wanted to set the stage for why I'm talking about that today. It is really for how any brand, but especially CPG, consumer packaged goods, and DTC, direct to consumer, which I don't know if those fall in different categories. To be honest, a lot of those abbreviations are things that I'm pretty ignorant of because I'm not really on that side of the industry. So excuse me for any ignorance. I'm still trying to get a good grasp of that, which is another reason I wanted to do this episode. A lot of times when I read through my notes, my research, that's where I learn and feel more confident. And that's why I'm timing this episode today. What I'd hope to do, it's kind of a before and after. So this is before the trade show. And then I plan to kind of come back and do a follow-up episode sharing what I learned from the trade show. And I may be collecting some photos or footage of what I'm seeing. And I'm really curious to see, are any brands currently embracing Web3? So let's dive into some of the things that I'm seeing some companies do and some of the opportunities. So if you work in the CPG world, hopefully this will be helpful. And if you are kind of more like me as a consumer and maybe a consultant in this space, you can think about how you could support brands as well as the consumers, other consumers, with understanding Web3's utility when it comes to product selling and marketing and all of that. So I have a bunch of notes, not in any specific order. If you're watching live and you have questions, feel free to share them at any point. If you're listening to the recording, as usual, you can always follow up with questions, especially since I plan to do a part 2 for this episode. So please send them over to me. You can reach me on social media at Whit Lauritsen, WhitLauritsen, or you can go to whitneylauritsen.com/web3 and submit any questions or topic requests over there. So let's start off with more of the basic ideas around Web3's utility in this space. It's important to note that pretty much anything can be token gated, meaning that you can use cryptocurrency, social tokens, NFTs, and even the metaverse, I suppose, in some ways, could be access to something. That's what the concept of token gated means. Very similar to a paywall, right? You're paying for access to something, or you're subscribing for access to something. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're buying, purchasing, using money or cryptocurrency for. It's just getting you in that door. So this could be chat groups, this could be online stores, software, videos, live streams like what I'm doing right now, real life events, shopping, restaurant experiences, hotel experiences or stays. And really the big way that this is being utilized is through NFTs, which I never want to assume that you know what I'm talking about, especially if this is the first episode that you've listened to. So NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. I've done a number of episodes on them in this series. I encourage you to go back and learn the basics if you're new to it. But I like to see NFTs used in terms of utility. Right now, what we're seeing with NFTs is kind of more just artwork, collectibles, or PFPs I've mentioned in past episodes, which stand for profile photos. You see that being used widely on platforms like Twitter. People are actually changing their profile pictures into their NFTs, like the Bored Apes and the Crypto Chicks, and uh, on and on and on. Those are the first two that come to mind. And I think those can actually be really cool in the CPG space too. There's a few examples that I'll share later on about that. And when we think about these keys, these tokens that are unlocking the doors, they give a variety of different things that are essentially membership perks. This is the main thing that I'm seeing people do in the CPGs and just this food space in general. I've also seen a lot of use cases with restaurants doing this, which I have a few examples later to share with that too. So again, these memberships, this access, these perks, you're rewarding people. We're already seeing this in art and music and fashion, sports, hospitality. And I think that we're going to see it across every single industry, including natural products, CPG. I also think we can break it down into simply viewing Web3 as a way to engage with your customers in different ways, very similar to how we've seen people use social media to connect, to engage, to support, to reward, to be in touch with, to understand. I think a lot of the Web 2 mentality, which includes social media, is going to be carried over into Web 3 in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's necessarily good, because the hope with Web3 is that it will be different, that we will be improving upon things, not just like making a different version of it. Some of the keywords that we hear throughout Web3 are community, are ownership, people really being part of things and actually owning them in a new way, or in the first time ever. So if you think about ownership and community as kind of the key ways to utilize this Web3 emerging technology, I think you're going to be in a good mental space. A lot of people are now using the blockchain, which is one of those terminologies thrown around. I associate the blockchain with cryptocurrency, but it's not, I don't think, exclusive to that. I'm still learning a lot of this terminology myself, by the way. But they're using the blockchain to heighten awareness about their brand. So you can essentially think of a lot of the things that you can do in Web3 as marketing. But I do think it's very important that we redefine marketing, that it's not just about you getting a benefit, but it's truly about both you and the consumer and the client and the people that are buying from you receiving maybe even equal benefits from it. One of the big issues that's brought up continuously throughout the discussion of Web3 and how that's different from the current stage of the web that we're in, Web 2, is that it hasn't felt equal, that it's felt like there's a lot of middlemen. There's more people benefiting from making money and using people's data, a lot of privacy issues. So if we can move away from that, then we start to see a more positive viewpoint of what people are hoping for in Web3. So let's dive into things a bit. I've listed in the description of this episode some of the links. If you're listening to the podcast version, I still haven't developed a great resource list that's easy for you to find. You could find that on the Spotify version of the show. But the quickest way for you to get all these resources I'm going to share today is through YouTube. Or Facebook, really, but they both display the resource link so you can follow along with me or reference back to something and read more into it. The first article or resource I listed is an article from entrepreneur.com, and some ideas for you could be digital shopping malls. We'll see that develop, I'm sure, in the metaverse, and a lot of those experiences, places to hang out, travel experiences, parties, entertainment, all of that can be part of this. So I actually think that's really cool. If you have a product, maybe that's D2C, meaning that you're not maybe you don't even have it in a retail space, right? You're selling directly from your website to the consumer, but maybe you've really wanted to be in a store. Well, you could embrace early on these digital shopping malls that are sure to evolve, where people could go and, virtually experience your product. And then once they experience that in a metaverse-like environment, you could then send them the real product, right? I'm sure we're going to see a lot of demos happening there. So, of course, it's very different from an in-person demo where someone could try and feel physically your product, but you can educate them a lot, just like you do with video. So that's something to look out for. And I would encourage you, if you're a brand or starting your own brand, to get involved with things like that as soon as possible, because that's where so many opportunities lie, is the novelty of being new to this space and one of few in the beginning before it becomes a little concentrated and competitive. People may use artificial intelligence and machine learning to help people find some of the data that they need quickly. We may hopefully see more transparent business models. As I mentioned, a lot of people are looking forward to this element, which essentially is related to how every transaction is logged on the blockchain. And that creates a level of transparency where people can see exactly how much was paid and who's owning it, who owns it now, who owned it in the past, who sold it. Um, and I'm not exactly sure where that'll play a role in the importance of a consumer packaged good, for example, but maybe it's somebody buying something from you, like a membership, for example, and then they sell their NFT to somebody else who will then be gifted that membership. They could go back and see how much it was originally purchased for. That's a very exciting element and a positive element of this space. But I really think that term transparency is going to be utilized in all sorts of neat ways, a few of which I'll get into a little bit more later. I also think that there's major opportunity here because so many millennials are accumulating cryptocurrency now. They're valuing it, they're excited about it as a generation. So there's a kind of a new wealth boom happening as a result of that. And there aren't a ton of ways to spend cryptocurrency yet. So if you can create ways to buy things right now, buy your products through an NFT, for example, use the money to maybe just buy directly a product. You could start to connect platforms like Ethereum and Bitcoin to your shopping portal so that people can use that instead of fiat money. And then also remembering that people are really rooted in this idea of retaking control of their privacy. I think a lot of brands have been used to, well, gathering a lot of information from people and then utilizing it to advertise to them. And I think we're going to see a shift. I'm actually hoping that we see a shift there. We're already seeing that in terms of what Apple is doing, how they changed a lot of the settings, how it's been harder to advertise now because of some of these privacy restrictions. I think that's start of a wave of transparency that's going to happen now, because unfortunately in Web 2, a lot of people didn't know what was being done with their information. They were giving away their information, like their name and email address, in order to access things. But then a company could then take their information and utilize it for their benefit, and the consumer may not even realize that that was the original intent, if that makes sense. Whereas being very transparent, what are you going to do with somebody's information? Or how about instead of collecting information, you give them access through cryptocurrency? They have to buy it to get into things. I think more people are going to embrace that once they realize, if they haven't realized already, how their data has been used in some ways that they're not comfortable with. And that's part of the shift that we think is going to happen as we move into Web3. The next resource listed in my resource list for this episode is techcrunch.com. That shared 5 NFT trends that will bring social media audiences into Web3. So it's especially helpful if you're thinking about this move, this transition, or this evolution from where we're currently focusing marketing efforts on social media into all the developments in Web3. Number 1, TechCrunch says, in the near future, all major social platforms will implement NFT verification, which will allow you to connect your wallets and display your verified NFTs on your profiles, like I shared. That's already happening on Twitter right now. And people have a desire, according to this article, that they want to express themselves, their taste, to their peers. And this is key when it comes to thinking about this in the CPG space, right? I think there are major opportunities in creating things that people can put on, like display, to say that they love something. We already see this with merchandise, right? So you might give away your merchandise, like a hat or a shirt or stickers or pins or something like that, in hopes that people will display it to say that they're a fan of your brand. I do this. I wear merch. I have a really cool hat from one company that I love wearing. Part of it is because I like the hat. Part of it's because I like the brand, and, you know, it starts a conversation and that connects me with other people. So a lot of people are using NFTs for that very purpose right now. So that's something you can do immediately to develop non-fungible tokens that allow people to share that they like your brand, and getting very creative with it. So it's not just about your brand. I'm not going to get into all the NFT ideas right now. I'd have to brainstorm that a bit. But thinking about what other people are doing in the NFT space, what resonates with you, what could resonate with your clients, your customers, your avatars, your ideal customers. What would they want to use as a kind of a badge to indicate that they are interested in either what you're doing specifically or what your product represents to them? For example, reaching vegans. If your product is very plant-based focus, if that's the main mission of it, maybe you create an NFT that's celebrating veganism, and it just happens to be something that you design, so it's always going to be connected to that. So someone can simultaneously say that they love your brand, but also that they're a vegan. That's an idea there. The impulses, going back to the TechCrunch article, it says the impulses around self-expression and identity are the more fundamental drivers of art collection, and one of the most prevalent ways in which people express their tastes and identity is through music. Seeing so much happening in the music space with Web3 right now. So can you partner, collaborate with the musician to create some special tracks? Like, maybe you're sponsoring a new indie artist. You're paying them to create music that they want to create already. You're helping them develop as an artist, but you're also partnering together to give something to your customers, which I think could be really cool. One idea off the top of my head. Wearables are, according to TechCrunch, are about to usher in an era of massive spending on digital goods that social media audiences will use to primp and preen their digital selves. So we're definitely going to see this in the metaverse. If I recently started experimenting with metaverse experiences. I guess I can say that. I've gone into a few metaverse apps that are existing right now, which I'm interacting with in real time with strangers. And it's fascinating because you create an avatar of yourself. So you're wearing clothing, doing your hair a certain way. You could wear earrings or nose piercings or makeup or whatever else. So you could design things that somebody could wear. So you could design digital merch that someone could wear on their avatar in the metaverse. And you could also design your own metaverse experience, which is something I'm going to get into later. But actually thinking about digital wearables, I think, is really cool. If you already offer merch, why not just digitize that and make that something that you give away to people so that when they're in the metaverse, they're promoting your brand, right? Now, they're kind of helping promote in a way. So in true Web3, like in that thought process of making sure that you're not just using your customers, maybe you can give them more. So if they wear your merchandise in the metaverse, you give them a special perks or rewards or something like that, so that they're aware of why you're giving it to them. I think that's also a key thing. Something that I'd like to see more and more in terms of transparency is brands saying, hey, we're collecting your data because we want to advertise to you because we're hoping you're going to buy more. Being really clear and upfront about that is perfectly fine, right? If it'll help people decide, do they really want to give you that data? Just like if you're going to give them merch, like, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, if you wear this in the metaverse, it's helping us. So here, we're going to give you a coupon or a certain amount of money off in real life so that you can continue to use our product. Just thinking about generosity in a new way, I think, is going to be a really great thing to focus on in the Web3 space. All right. So a couple other, well, not a couple, I have more to go into. On the next thing I want to focus on is just something real quick in terms of how you can use artificial reality. You can test products before purchase. There is a use case from Leisure Creatures Utility. This is kind of cool. They have kind of different elements, and this isn't just the AR, sorry. My notes are a little bit all over the place, but maybe this circles back around. I'm reading my notes in order, but my notes were taken across several weeks of time. This is how my brain works. A little scattered, but ultimately coming back around to a main point. So Leisure Creatures NFT has done some really neat things. They're worth looking up. I think they're a beverage brand. I'm actually not familiar with them, but this is a great example of how you can help people become more familiar with you by doing things in this space early on as an early adopter, because you stand out. There aren't a lot of brands doing this yet, at least to my knowledge. So number one, they offer community. So they will pitch new flavors to their Web3 community, and people can actually suggest their own flavors, and the products that are chosen will result in rewards for the people that pitch that idea. There's a grant there that they're doing. So they have like some $50,000 worth of grant to fund community member creative projects. They have a special network in there that will help bring people's passions to life, it looks like. They have different in real life IRL experiences to gather and meet one another, which I think is really cool. If somebody is very passionate about your brand, they might want to meet other people that like the brand too. And so you can bring them together for different experiences, right? Again, thinking about collaborations. Can you collaborate with an artist, with a musician? I've been to amazing branded events over the years that I've been part of the natural products world. And I love it when they do something that's not directly related to their brand, but I'm associating it with their brand because their brand is a sponsor of it, right? Like that's a major way that brands promote themselves right now. So you could, again, do this in the metaverse, but you could also do both. You can have the metaverse plus real life events that only people that are part of your Web3 community get access to, especially if they're owning your NFT. This is one of the big ways when we're talking about gating or special perks that someone gets by acquiring your NFT. They're basically getting an ongoing ticket to what you're offering. Different products, going back to Leisure Creatures, they give the first few cans of their drinks to people that have their NFT. So they're getting kind of like an exclusive first taste experience. They get special pricing on things. People get to share their feedback and offer suggestions. They can win free products every month. They have an affiliate program where somebody could actually make money from it, all sorts of neat things like that. So listing some ideas here: experiences, network opportunities, exclusive events, special shipments of your products, advanced product drops, and opportunities to share feedback. You could do all of those things. You could do a few. You could just pick one and focus on that as your current Web3 strategy, and then build upon it after you've tested it, after you've had some more experiences. The next is an article from the Die Line, which was about whether or not NFTs have jumped the shark. And it's been a little while since I read this. It came out in January of this year, but here are a few bullet points I took. So number one, aside from the brand connection, NFTs mostly exist as boring applications of the most obvious use case, which is collectible digital art. So in this writer's opinion, collectible art feels a little boring already, and NFTs have been around not that long, but long enough that people are ready to move on from that. So this article says that small brands and startups are experimenting with cryptocurrency to solve long-standing problems such as funding and marketing. So maybe NFTs are not your thing. Maybe you think they're boring. I mean, personally, I think if you're doing something similar to what Leisure Creatures is doing, there's so much more that you can do beyond the artwork. The artwork is really just like a ticket in my opinion. If you add in all of the utility, as they call it, in this space, that's giving people something beyond just looking at a JPEG, which is part of the criticism in this world. But I also like this idea about using cryptocurrency as part of your funding opportunities. Going back to what I said about how millennials are really investing, for lack of a better word, in cryptocurrency. They're buying it up. I'm a millennial. We're very excited about this. Like, a lot of my friends are interested in this space. We're feeling confident. We might have some extra financial liquidity to play with, or a little comfort level based on where we're at financially. And so I've purchased cryptocurrency because of the buzz, the hype, the excitement. I'm curious about it. And I have a bunch of cryptocurrency just kind of sitting around. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, mostly I think I'm just going to leave it there to hopefully grow in value. But there's a lot of it that I would like to put into something. So I end up buying NFTs. I end up, we're supporting other creators and artists in the realms of the platforms that I'm on. But there's still a huge percentage of my cryptocurrency that's just not seeming to serve a purpose. So I would absolutely use some of that if I believed in a project. I would support kind of like a crowdfunding campaign. I would probably buy an experience like I've been listing out. So I'm looking for those opportunities, and I bet a lot of other millennials are. So the big point that I'm trying to make here is thinking outside of the box, and what can you do to engage people and to reward them. A really amazing resource for brainstorming, if you're in the CPG space, is crypto packaged goods. This is a amazing project specifically about what I'm talking about here. That is all about networking, education, and community. They're called Club CPG. They have all of these perks that they give people that own their NFTs. It seems really amazing. I wish I had gotten in on this a lot earlier. I remember hearing about them about like 6 months ago, and I didn't know enough about NFTs at that point to even feel comfortable exploring it. I was just getting started. This is how new I am to this space. And so I can't really regret something that I wasn't comfortable doing at the time. So I'm kind of looking for opportunities to get involved, and I expect to see this happening at the Natural Products Expo, because a number of people that are part of Club CPG are involved in the natural products world. One of the greatest examples is Jamie Schmidt, who's behind one of my favorite natural products companies called Schmidt's. I think it's Schmidt's Naturals. They make fantastic deodorant and body wash. I've been using it for years. I think Jamie Schmidt is awesome. And I think that she's one of the main leaders of this. I don't remember if she created Club CPG, but she's a remarkable person and a great example of someone to follow in this space on LinkedIn and Twitter, and checking out the website, noticing what articles Jamie is sharing and talks that she's giving. If I were to give you one resource to go to after listening or watching this, it would be her, or the Crypto Packaged Good website. They have this amazing roster of people. I actually went through every single person that's involved with their project and looked them up, followed a lot of them, and I put together, and I forgot to list this out. One of the resources in this episode description is a Twitter list I put together, and a huge percentage of the people I put on that Twitter list came from Club CPG, and it's a CPG natural products collection of people. So if you're on Twitter, you want to use Twitter more, you can check out that list, and it's a good starting point for who to follow in this space. Just a few more things to share is I also, through Twitter, I believe, one of the rabbit holes I went down led me to something called Spoon Tech. And there was this Food Web3 Metaverse Summit. I don't know if they offer any of the sessions to watch. I haven't tracked it down yet, but they did have like a list of the sessions and the people that were involved. And I looked up a number of these people to see what they were doing. Really cool things happening. One is called Devour Restaurant. And that is like this Web3 focused community that helps people feel entertained and socialize in the restaurant space. They're developing Web3 related loyalty programs, tickets to unique experiences, employee rewards programs, like this whole tokenized system. I think they had a white paper on their website that was really a great read about what's happening in the restaurant space. But even though that's not CPG related, you could still apply a lot of the things that they're doing to CPG. So I recommend checking that out. Another one is called One Rare, which is a food metaverse game for Web3, which is an immersive and gamified experience all around growing, selling, and making food. I really want to check this out. I don't know how you get into this metaverse, but I'm going to look into it. They give you access to chefs and restaurant owners, and it just seems so cool. It's so up my alley. I love the gamification of it, and I really think that's important to emphasize. So I just started exploring the metaverse, like in the real metaverse, not just conceptually, but going into it a few weeks ago. A friend of mine loaned me his Oculus headset. I did a whole episode on this. I don't know if that was the last episode or not. Might have been. But if you want to go back and hear my thoughts and experiences with the Oculus, I welcome you to check out that episode. And in summary, I think it's amazing. It is like better than I could have imagined. This virtual reality experience of it, but the gamification is really, really exciting to me on a level that I wouldn't have known had I not tried it out. So I think the opportunities to educate people, but really to put them into the world as if they're doing it in real life is so cool. And how that could apply to your brand goes back to the transparency side of it. One thing I love that's been a developing trend for the past 5+ years is companies that do things like QR codes on their packaging, where you can scan the QR code and go see the farmers and learn all about how the food is being grown. They'll take you to the source of it. 2 examples immediately come to mind. One is Gaia Herbs, one of my favorite supplement companies, and the other one is Little Northern Bakehouse, right? I hope is that right? No, wait. Well, it's like 1 Degree Organics. I think they're associated companies. 1 Degree Organics. So both Gaia Herbs and 1 Degree were 2 brands that I saw through the Natural Products Expo. I met their founders and people from the company because of this trade show I'm going to tomorrow. But they announced at that event that they were starting this transparency program. And I just thought it was so brilliant because I'm one of those people who likes to know where things come from. I want to know who's making my food. That makes me feel closer to it. It immerses me into it. It makes me feel more loyal. It makes me a better ambassador. So I love what One Rare is doing because I could see myself going into this metaverse experience and feeling like I'm seeing things that I might not actually do in real life. I'm getting to experience something almost like I'm in the shoes of somebody else, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And then another example, one of my last examples, is Board Breakfast Club, really cool NFT project that partnered with a coffee company to establish the first NFT coffee subscription, which enables free shipments of coffee worldwide for their members. And I'm just going to pause for a second because I think a comment just came in, but I don't have my comments up in front of me. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Hi, Sandra. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. So anyways, Board Breakfast Club has a membership token that unlocks these free shipments of coffee, and they give members access to their online community, live events, a digital content library, and discounts on more bags of coffee. So it's very similar to a lot of subscription models that we're currently seeing right now, but this added layer of Web3. So the community element, we might be seeing this in Facebook right now, which a lot of companies use, although there are some issues with Facebook. Facebook's very involved in the metaverse. They changed their name to Meta. So I think Facebook groups may see a resurgence in a new way there. But community right now is going through a transition. And I hope that we see community feel even more nourished, right? So I don't know. I haven't used or really looked far into Board Breakfast Club yet, but I imagine what they're doing with community is a little different than what we're seeing in free communities, right? There's another level of engagement that we typically see in communities when somebody pays for it, when they feel like it's exclusive or special, right? That's one of the big perks of an NFT. But this idea of giving people free CPG products and discounts. So they get a certain amount every month. Plus, if they want more, they get a discounted rate for that. I think that's brilliant. I don't know exactly what they're doing with their digital content. Maybe they're educating people. Maybe they're partnering with something related to it, right? There's lots of ideas on what that could be. It also reminds me of subscription. There's two subscriptions that come to mind for me, and I'm thinking about how they could take advantage of something like this or use the model of Board Breakfast Club. One is for Christmas, I gave my mom a beer subscription. I didn't know what else to get her. My mom loves drinking craft beer. It's just like a fun, relaxing thing for her. And she goes out and she'll buy beer. A lot of times she buys the same companies over and over again. And I thought, I'm going to treat her to something special. And this beer subscription sent her some beer that she had never had before from some local brewers. And she loved it, right? And there were all these passionate people posting reviews about this beer subscription. So what if those people had an opportunity to buy an NFT that granted them access to the subscription, but also access to each other in the form of a community, right? Like this could make people feel even more passionate about it. They could start to become even bigger ambassadors because they're connecting with one another. And this is where this key of community starts to feel really exciting. As we've seen in influencer marketing, down to earth, average person, I want to put this in quotations, average person, whatever that means, someone who's not a celebrity, right? They have so much power in influencing their friends and influencing anyone else who sees their posts on social media, right? Or think of it like a Yelp review, reviews online. They have so much power. Amazon reviews do the same thing because so many people want to hear from another person that's like them, explain why or why not to buy something. I do this all the time. I always read Amazon reviews. I really check out Yelp reviews before I go to a restaurant. I read from a variety of people in order to help me make a decision. So you can use the power of that community to help promote your brand. And when someone becomes really passionate about it, they can answer questions to one another. They can share tips with each other. That keeps your customers engaged on a deeper level. And I think that gated access, where somebody has to join a membership in order to get access to one another, that kind of raises the stakes more. I think we're also going to be seeing community evolve in some different ways that I don't even know yet because it hasn't happened. And I'm really excited about that. The other subscription that I have every month is called Goddess Provisions. And in fact, I'm just holding on to my essential oils that came that were, it's a roll-on blend of oils that smells really good. I use it for aromatherapy. And sometimes I just hold on to these things. It helps ground me when I'm feeling kind of anxious or stressed out. And I'm a big fan of Goddess Provisions, and I want to talk about them any top opportunity I can because I'm passionate about what they do. I'm actually an affiliate of theirs, so it benefits me financially to promote the brand. I would absolutely get an NFT if they offered it. I would love to be in their community and talk with more subscribers about this month's products. I would also love it. So if I'm brainstorming how you could use community, what Goddess Provisions is, similar to that beer subscription I mentioned, they both highlight other brands. So the subscription box is a brand, but there's brands within their brand, if that makes sense. They're like an umbrella. So Goddess Provisions, this one is called Chicky Botanica. This is that oil blend that I got within the Goddess Provisions box. So what if Chicky Botanica offered exclusive discounts within their NFT project? What if they came and spoke? Going back to the Board Breakfast Club, they said they had a digital content library. That could be somebody talking about why to use these oils. How do these benefit you? I would love that, because a lot of times I get the box and I feel kind of like I'm having my own isolated experience with it. But if I could learn from the people behind the brands within the box, that would add a whole new level of interaction and immersion for me, right? So there's so much you can do here. I could go on, but I want to wrap up soon. The last thing that I did not get into yet, just worth mentioning, because we're seeing this come out more and more. This is something I'm still trying to understand about the Web3 space, and I feel like I need to mention. I've talked about cryptocurrency, a lot about NFTs, some about the metaverse, and there's also DAOs. And off the top of my head, I don't even remember what DAO stands for, so let me pull up my notes. Decentralized Autonomous Organizations, where groups organize around a mission that coordinate through a shared set of rules enforced on a blockchain. That is the official nerdy definition of it. And how could this play a role, or how is this being utilized in natural products and CPG? Well, DAOs are considered a groundbreaking way for people with shared interests to collaborate towards a common goal. And they can create a lot of societal benefits when used well. So I'm still trying to grasp exactly how DAOs work, but I just see them as a group of people that are working towards that goal, as I mentioned. And so you could create a DAO within your space. So maybe Club CPG is also considered a DAO. I'm not quite sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is one, right? So could you be part of a DAO with other companies? Could you start your own DAO? Something worth looking into. I'm not that educated on DAOs yet, but I know enough about them that to see how they're evolving, they're becoming more popular. People are very passionate about DAOs, so I really encourage you to look into that too. So those are all my notes currently on the opportunities in this space for CPG, for natural products. I cannot wait to go to this trade show. I feel a little bit more prepared. I've got all these ideas in my head. So thank you for holding space and listening. If you have more ideas on how to utilize Web3 for natural products, for D2C, CPG, all these terms, marketing brands, I would love to hear them. I'm especially interested in how small businesses could use them to grow their brand. So if you are already doing that, if you have ideas, please reach out to me. The best way would be on Twitter, because if you sent me a tweet in response to this, I could retweet it and help spread the word. I could mention it in an upcoming video/podcast version of this. But you're also welcome to privately message me or submit it over at whitneylauritsen.com/web3. I have a little rewards program set up there, actually. So anybody who submits topic suggestions, questions, feedback over on that website, or subscribes to the podcast version of the show, I will send you some of my social token called the Well Coin, which is on a platform called Rally. And that's just kind of a way for you to see how I operate, how I reward people. It's been a neat way to connect. It's driven engagement in some great ways. And speaking of which, I'm a little behind in sending out my rewards. I've been trying to do it once a week, but now I'm like doing it more monthly. So if you've been waiting for your rewards, I promise they will be on the way to you soon, especially with this upcoming trade show. I've been a bit distracted. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to see how everything evolves. I'll report back to you soon. The Natural Products Expo starts tomorrow, Wednesday, May 9th, and goes until Saturday, which is either the 11th or the 12th. I think it's 12th, right? So the next 4 days, I'll be immersed in that world. I will have a lot to share, and I'll be back soon to give you the full roundup. Hopefully there is some. I'm going to be taking lots of notes from all the conversations, at least from the questions. This is why I love questions so much, because they inspire me to do some more research. One that's been on the back burner for quite some time is the environmental downside to cryptocurrency and NFTs. I've been slowly researching that. I want to do a big episode on it. So that's been that's been on my mind, and I promise you that is coming as soon as possible. If you have anything else, any concerns, send them my way. I want to hear it all. I want to support you to the best of my abilities. And until next time, I'm wishing you all the very best with your own journey, wherever it is, whether you're a beginner, whether you're getting started, you're curious, you're skeptical, maybe you're more advanced, wherever you are on the Web3 path. I wish you luck, and I hope to connect with you soon. Bye for now.